And this everyone is the 1998 Beauty World program.
Wow.
And that's Hosann at the back here.
And Hosann is Frankie, is it?
Hosann and Frankie, yeah.
You're Frankie.
I was supposed to be this Frankie if
Really?
MediaCorp didn't release him for the stage version of it. But they did release him because he was a MediaCorp artist back then.
Ah.
So yeah.
That's quite beautiful, actually. It's very interesting. So this is a program that looks a lot like the 1988 program, which I've seen because that's available on the internet.
Really? You can
Yeah.
see this on the 1988.
Not this one. You can see the 88 one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's Beloved Emma, Jacinta, and Sharon, and Hosann, and Darren.
And there's not a soundtrack recording for this, yeah?
No, there isn't.
So there's only the first one,
Yeah.
the last one, and then this one now.
Yeah. Yeah. So just thought I would show that to you.
Oh my
The
goodness.
history. welcome to the history of Beauty World.
That's been a very interesting thing, learning about the history of Beauty World, actually.
So
yeah.
many people started there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been very interesting how many people started there and how many people that have within the theatre scene I have such an emotional connection to the material as well.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing because it's just kind of like a lot of people who I think don't really usually hang out together or do any work together and all that, but they're all connected by Beauty World.
Yeah.
It's quite a beautiful thing. I started thinking about Ivy as some sort of spiritual, like because characters, right? Characters are kind of beings, right? They're alive. They're not really alive, but they're alive in imaginations. And someone like Ivy, who's been brought to life like 7 or 8 times, like, what are they really?
Right.
Yeah.
So what is your take on your Ivy?
My Ivy, I don't know how she compares to other people's.
That's fine, but what's your own take about? As in,
Well-
not in comparison, but just you. Who do you think your
She's
Ivy
kind
is?
of I initially thought that she was like this very romantic, dramatic person. Actually, you know, probably like she's kind of lonely. She reads a lot of books, like Belle in Beauty and the Beast. Like she goes on this adventure because she wants to know about her past and who her father is, but
Right.
she also wants to go on an adventure,
Okay.
right? And that's kind of part of it, but. I guess learning what the real world in that sense is like for this version is just it becomes a bit much.
Right.
Yeah, and she like my Ivy actually kind of destroys all her relationships in her quest.
Oh gosh. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean that phrase when Frankie, your boyfriend from Batu Pahat, comes all the way down to look for you, and you said you don't know him, you don't recognize him. What is going on in Ivy's mind, your Ivy's mind at the time? Why do you say I don't recognize him? Why do you not? I mean, are you still not done with your game? Is that why?
It's because that's the night of the anniversary.
You're about to.
and
you don't want.
she just,
nothing's
and
gonna
she
get in her
just-
way.
Yeah, she just needs to. And Frankie came uninvited. Like
did?
she's not really happy that he's there at
okay.
all. Like because
Right.
he's just like, no man, you need to come home and all this stuff. And for Ivy, everyone's telling her you shouldn't be here. You know you're too innocent for this place or whatever. But
Right.
that's the night of the party, and she really believes that she's gonna find her father.
Right. So my own thoughts, there was good and bad that I liked about it, but what I really liked about this particular one was actually the opening number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great because people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it because it was slower.
So slow.
I heard it was like went from 158 to what's that?
It's probably like
128 or something like that.
It's very, very slow.
It's very slow.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I thought it was nice because it was just like, oh, it's just in the day in the life of. There's no pressure in the world. And then when Ivy pops up is when things start to speed up.
Yeah.
So I actually like that a lot.
The opening number for me is I spend most of my time guarding the singing because I'm kind of just helping to keep everything in shape. So I think it's very interesting. But Timothy, who plays Ahok, he recently had a conversation with his professor from NUS Theatre Studies, who was talking about this really cool thing where the reason the song goes on and on and on is this. So in all the other productions of Beauty World, there's a frame of the radio play, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's something that opens the show and that closes the
Yes.
show, and you get the epilogue and you get all these things. And that is something that kind of actually justifies the level of melodrama because it's a radio show and it has to be very
So you're saying
there?
that there's no justification this time around.
well, not really,
so to
but I
speak.
just thought it was like a fun nerdy fact. So this professor, he believes that, like, so at the end of the epilogue, you get everybody moving on. You get all the characters who go and have their happy slash,
Yep.
very normal endings, and then you also get, and then life in the club goes on, and then they play the cha cha cha,
Yep.
and it goes on and on and on, and that's why the song goes on and on and on, because it's a cycle.
So that was the intention.
That's what
Right.
this professor said. It was
Right.
really kind of like a cool thing.
And I also like how at the end of it we kind of return to life going back on and on and on,
Yeah.
like right, yeah, like it's back to Beauty World, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's nice too.
yeah, it's fun. Some people love.
When we're talking about Broadway HD, I mean, I think that one is a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a pro and con. Yes, I do think it might undermine ticket sales, but it also reaches out to a broader community than the Broadway community when it comes to musical theater. Musical theater, as you know, is already an esoteric field. So because of
Yeah.
that, I think what we need to bring more audience in ultimately is to be able to expand it to the masses, so they go, oh my gosh, I never knew that Fun Home, let's list that. I never knew that Fun Home was actually so provocative and something that I am interested to explore. Now I would like to see it live. And I
Yeah.
don't think that would be possible for someone who's never had access to the Great White Way or has never gone even into a theater, but suddenly you're able to stream it right into your home.
Exactly. So the people that would have never bought a ticket basically would be they would be aware of the fact that there are these things that exist and would take an interest. So hopefully you bring more bums to seats.
Absolutely.
I do. I work with the improv company here in Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah, we do some fun stuff. I'm in the infant stages of forming my own team, which is like, because I took some classes in New York. So I'm trying to take John Prav. TM. So I'm trying to take what I learned there and bring it here, and it's very exciting. The improv scene here is like it's in its infancy. So in a weird way, it's great because there's like so many ways that it could go, and it's very exciting. I can't wait to. So for those
Thank
of
you,
you,
people.
I keep doing this. I think that's the way we're doing the podcast. For those of you who don't know, and I actually have someone to talk to, there's short form improv and long form improv in terms of comedy. Short form is like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Games. I'm sure you played it in school and stuff. Long form is like this whole different animal where it's like you just go, you have like 30, 45 minutes, an hour to do funny scenes.
Right.
And there's a way of doing it that you learn. I learned it in the UCB in New York, and it's the bomb.
Your thoughts also about reviewers, because there's this whole, I mean, actors and reviewers, there's always this relationship of like, who are you to say? Actors can get defensive. Sometimes it's out of proportion. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the reviewers are a little bit like, but it's all very subjective also, like who's right and who's wrong. But
Yeah.
so what are your thoughts
it's
about
quite hard.
reviews that have
So,
come in?
I also write reviews in Kuala Lumpur actually sometimes from time to time, and I try to be as constructive as I can, because to me, for me, when I'm writing a review,
Right.
there's no way that it actually helps to sell tickets because the runs are too short. There's no
Right.
it's not like a promotional thing or anything, and it's not like people in KL actually really care about reading theatre criticism.
Really?
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think many people care here about reading much criticism either.
I mean,
People want to
I
know
live
whether
in
they
the
can
actor
see the
community.
show.
I think actors do care a
actors,
lot,
yes,
though.
lah, but
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
right? So for me, like, I try to think of it as a way to give feedback to the production itself, but I know not everybody thinks that is what the role of a reviewer is.
Right. Right.
So, but I do enjoy the reviewers who take that role, because at least they try to kind of be balanced and all that.
Yeah.
Other reviewers, they want to entertain people, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess you gotta sell papers and stuff
Yep,
like that.
there's
So-
that
so
balance
that's-
to do as well.
That's where it gets into like, okay, I'm going to make statements that are entertainingly nasty,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
So you see it for what it is. You're not affected by it. You see that they have a job to do and it's fine. And
well, it's obviously hard to take when people are saying that your performance is like, but
yeah.
after a while you just have to get over it.
Yeah, it makes you stronger. And
if you can handle it.
yeah.
Which
Good.
is not to say you necessarily should be able to. It's okay if you can't handle it. You're only human. But
Yeah. And I just want to say also, reviews are also actually ultimately one person's reflection of the opinion. And there are hundreds of other thousands of people in the audience that you don't hear from actually. So it's, as an actor, I guess take it with a pinch of salt.
in a place like New York City or something like that, the review is very important to the life of the show, right?
Yeah.
If Ben Brantley says
He's
you
a
go
big
well,
reviewer in New York.
then you will run and you will actually get a huge audience.
Because
But
people
over
respect
here-
him. I don't know.
Yes.
Do reviewers have they built that respect? Do you
don't-
think from
well,
the
not to
people,
say
or are
respect,
there
but-
enough people even wanting
it's
to?
like when your maximum run for a long musical is 1 month, then it's not gonna be so important to you. Word of mouth will be much more important. When your run is, you're hoping to have an open-ended 6 month or 1 year, which is what they do on Broadway and all that.
Right.
Then the critic is more important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for
So it's
now-
very different here.
yeah.
Singapore works by very short sort of runs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's still a process that is maturing for Singapore criticism and the lack thereof. And maybe hopefully in a few years' time you'll actually get enough of an audience that is interested that then maybe the critic's opinion will matter, which will be good and bad. Because
Yeah.
you'll have the audience, but then the critic's opinion will matter.
Yeah.
But okay lah,
Yeah.
we want the scene to grow so that we can all make money.
Yeah.